So anyway, K100radio.com. Remember, you can always download our free mobile app or listen to us live on Roku or on K100radio.com. All right. Got some other exciting news about another platform that we can add it to coming up here. So I'll tell you guys about that in a minute. All right. I am your host, Blizzard again, and welcome to the show. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get right into it, fam, because I ain't going to roll this thing out, right? We're going to jump right into it. I got Maxwell Billieon in the building. We're going to bring him on the screen. He's on the screen now. He's on the air now. Welcome, brother. Welcome to our platform.
It is absolutely a pleasure. You know, I just moved from Atlanta, so I'm glad this is my first platform to be actually back on the air in Atlanta after being there for, since 2018.
Wow, yes. And you know, speaking of that, I kind of, you know, read up a little bit in this research. Of course, we have to do that because we have guests on here. We want to know a little bit, kind of what we're talking about. And I saw that you were involved in a very serious situation, very serious case. You were a spokesperson for something that happened out here. And I saw that news clip, man. And I was like, you know, just off the top, I want to give you the floor and let you introduce yourself formally. You know, everything that you have going on, being an advocate, socio-political, your music background, which is, of course, a conversation that we must get into on K100 Radio. But I want to give you the floor and just formally introduce yourself to our listening audience.
Well, first of all, you guys better get your phones ready because you're going to want to call in because we're about to light up the airways. If you know anything about Maxwell Billieon, you know when I come on, the phones get lit up. You guys are going to have some questions. But the case that you're talking about is I have a consultancy company for victims of violence in the United States of America. We've done everything from the West Coast to the South. We've been in Louisiana. We've been in New York. Mm-hmm. I think one of the cases that you're talking about, I had 3 particular cases in Atlanta. The one you might be talking about is one of the murder cases, right, where there were two guys that were I'm from the city of Compton. For those of you who may never have heard of the city of Compton, it's a little city in the hub of Los Angeles. And so the Crips and the Bloods have franchised themselves, at least in the minds of our youth. And you had 2 boys who claimed to be Blood, and they shot up an area on New Year's Eve about 4 years ago. And one of the bullets from a Draco poured through the drywall of a house and shot a young man in his head, a young 16-year-old boy in his head, and ended his life. At that point in time, one of those kids was 17 and the other one was 20, and both of them got life in prison in Douglas County. And so I represented the family in the case and worked with the district attorney to ensure that justice was done. But it was a very sad case, one of many cases that I've done like that stem from gang violence and young African-American males end up doing serious time and losing their lives to the penal system. So that's something that we do, advocacy for people of victims of gun violence, victims of assault, victims of police brutality, and so on. But sociopolitically, I am a politician. I just stepped aside as the county commissioner of Los Angeles County. I am, again, from the city of Compton. I stepped aside because I got full custody of my 8-year-old son, who's now 10.
Okay.
And that became my focus. And for those of you who are full-time fathers or full-time mothers, you know, there ain't nothing that takes up more of your time than being a full-time parent.
Yes.
So I took that task on, and it's gone super well. He's a national champion in swimming. I coached him. We went to Georgia. We won Georgia. Okay. We knocked it down. Went undefeated. He's a sprinter. And he was the only African-American kid. And that's something to be extremely proud of coming from the West Coast over to the South, because when you get to the South, when you get to a place like Atlanta, you know, Black people and white people don't mix. Right. In Atlanta, you go to a restaurant in Atlanta right now, white people are sitting over there and Black people are sitting over there. That's not something that I'm accustomed to. I've lived in 22 countries. I've been a diplomat to several. I come from a high elite political family out of not just the city or county of Los Angeles, but particularly Compton, and I'm used to diversity. And so when I got to the South, I expected that the nation had grown, and I expected to see more of what I'd seen, having lived in Paris and having lived in Milan and Tokyo and London and Los Angeles. And Atlanta gave me a wicked surprise that America is absolutely different than everything else that I was accustomed to.
Yeah.
So the lack of the lack of diversity really pushed me to get more sociopolitically involved. And so now I'm an advocate. I am a lobbyist. I'm a lobbyist entity, a 501c4 called X.
Okay.
And X as in Malcolm X, but more particularly X as in Generation X. I'm a proud and the proudest representative of Generation X.
That's us.
Yes, sir.
That will be us.
Yes, sir.
That will
yes,
be us.
Sir.
We
yes,
are both.
sir.
We are both Gen X's on the line today. Yes.
That's right. And we are here to take over this nation and move this nation forward in the way that it should be, not as Democrats, not as Republicans, not as independents, but as primary. I said primary, not proud, but primary Americans. We're the primary source of revenue for this country. We're the primary stream of income for this country. We're the primary sources of business for this country. We're the primary sources for technology of this country. Mm-hmm. I could be here going on and on about this. We'll talk about it more in detail.
Right.
But I consider myself the face and the voice of Generation X. And so I started X, and X is doing extremely well. We're going to do 7 figures for the upcoming midterm elections. Donating money to legislatures and legislative means mm-hmm. to help forward our agenda for a united America. And this is really a music-driven show. So if you'll allow me, I'll tell you how we really got here, because that's really what prompts me to do this. Is when you go back to 1983, there's a band called Aerosmith.
Right.
And Aerosmith had been at the top of the charts numerous times, and they came out with a song called Walk This Way.
Uh-huh.
And Walk This Way entered the top 20 on the Billboard Hot 100, but it didn't have a bullet. It means it didn't go to number 1, for those of you who know music business talk.
Right.
A year later, Run DMC and Rick Rubin take that song and do Walk This Way and bring in Aerosmith, and it becomes the version that we all know, the song Walk This Way.
Right.
That song goes to number 1. And not only does it go to number 1, but for the very first time, Run DMC is not only nominated on the Grammy American Music Awards side, but Aerosmith wins the Soul Train Award.
Right.
For this song.
Right.
Most people don't know that. Now, what does that symbolize? What does that have to do with America? Because what that was Generation X. For the very first time, you had a kid in Hoboken, a kid on the south side of Chicago, a kid on the south side of Atlanta, a kid on the east side of Compton, all listening to the same music.
Right.
We were getting married and didn't even know it. We were being brought together and didn't even know it by this marriage called Walk This Way, which was the name of the song.
Right.
And so Generation X, unlike any other generation before us, walks differently.
Right.
We don't walk that way. We don't walk racist. We don't walk separatist. We don't walk genderist. We don't walk ageist. We walk this way.
Right.
We walk together. We walk together. And because we're not in power, we've stepped up and we've become the coolest guys in the club. You guys remember back 20, 25, 30 years ago, if you were a 40, 50-year-old man in the club, you were the old dude in the club. That was nasty. You were like, "Ugh, what's he doing in here?" It was creepy.
Right.
Now you got the Rick Rosses and the 50 Cents and so on. Guys are in their 40s and 50-year-olds, Jay-Z and so on, in the club.
Yeah.
The biggest DJs, Generation Xers, they're in the club, and it's not a creepy thing because we are the innovators. And so that's because we walk differently. We walk this way. And we've done well personally, we've done well professionally, but we've done nothing politically. Yeah. And you cannot have a happy home if you're being done dirty. It's impossible. So it doesn't matter how much money Generation X has. Generation X makes 3 times the amount per capita than any other generational group in America to date. Yet and still, we have no political power. Our president is not a Generation Xer. Right. Our vice president is not a Generation Xer. The candidates that ran against them are not Generation Xers. We don't even represent 50% of the House. How can that be when we have more than 50% of the money? It's because we didn't fight the fight. Our parents fought that fight.
Right.
Our parents fought the fight of the 1960s and 1950s, and we got the benefit of it. So nobody's trying to march in their Tom Ford shoes. These ladies aren't trying to march in their Louis Vuitton and their Christian Louboutin heels. They don't want to march. We shall overcome. Well, we overcame, but we still have more to do. And so that's what I'm about now with X. It's virtually going to be the new political party. You know, you got over 65% of registered Dems and Republicans at the same time say that they are no longer that they consider themselves independent.
Right. Which
means they're moderates. And so that's who we're catering to, people that are ex-members of the Republican Party, ex-members of the Democratic Party, ex-libertarians, ex-this, ex-that. We're going to X it all out, and we're going to have our own thing so that we can create power, we can create presence, and we can do exactly what Jefferson said, which is create a more perfect union in this nation. So I'm super excited. I'm absolutely happy to be here and talk to Atlanta. And let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Well, I love everything that you just said. I mean, you had a lot of stuff, a lot of points. Really good points. I want to talk. Let's dive into Generation X. Why do you? Because you gave us the numbers, right? So those are what they are. You can argue opinion, but you can't argue numbers, right? Numbers are what they are. So we've got the money, but we don't have the political clout. Why do you think because we had in Generation X in the 90s, which is the 90s was our youth, our primes and stuff like that. We had the rock the votes. We had some hip hop music that was positive. I know we kind of went left, when the music kind of changed and it got more street, we kind of went left and everything started glorifying a whole bunch of other stuff. But in its inception, when hip hop first came out, and we were the generation that made it to $1 billion industry, we had people talking about politics, social issues. We had, everything. Back when MTV was popping, they had Rock the Vote. We started all that stuff. Why do you think that somehow, some way, we didn't get that political clout and that capital to match our money? What happened? Because I don't understand. I hear what you're saying, and I'm here to agree with you. Like, I know a lot of people in my age that be like, voting don't even matter. I'm like, I don't even know how we even got here with you, fam. I can understand maybe somebody that was born in, Gen Z, born in the TikTok era, listening to a whole bunch of people with no information at all, talking about do your research and all that kind. I can understand them not getting it, but for us, we're old enough to know better, right? But I don't understand why it didn't translate. What do you think is the reason? Why not?
So our political party stopped catering to us. So let's look at the movement of the Democratic Party. All right. And if we look at the movement of the Democratic Party, it was not generational. It was generational. When Obama came out, he made it generational, but he wasn't talking to us. He was talking to millennials. Every time the Democratic Party has said the next generation, they have overlooked Generation X. Why? Because we have the money. We have the money, but we're not investing it in them. Look, if you want to be powerful in the United States of America, this is a lobbyist system. This is the capitalist society. If you are not donating money to political campaigns, you have no voice. Shut the hell up, sit your behind back in your house and complain at the barbershop, complain at the beauty salon. But you have zero voice. Your vote counts, but not as much as your dollar counts. And Generation X is not spending our money at the pump. We're not spending our money to put gasoline in this machine. You look at the Koch brothers, you look at Ronald Reagan, these were Democrats. Donald Trump was a Democrat. And they pump their money into a system to try to create more wealth, meaning more influence within that system. And then they all got wealth within that system. But we've pumped no money into that system. And so we are overlooked. And why is that? Why are we overlooked? Because whoever has the money controls the pen. Remember that. Whoever's putting in the money, when you give money to a politician, you own him or her. Yes, you do. And they have to follow your voice. If they don't follow your voice, what happens to them? Next term, they're out of there. And the last thing that a politician wants to do is be a one-term pony. They want to repeat because that's how they hold on to power. So we did not put money into these political campaigns. We're still not putting money into these political campaigns. And so we have no power. So the belief system is exactly what you said. Oh, well, my vote doesn't count. My vote doesn't count because my dollar isn't a part of it. Right. My dollar's not involved. I can't just vote. I have to also put my dollar in. And that's the key with all of this. And I do now that I can I'll just keep it 100. This is K100 Radio. I'll keep it 100 with you. I am a voter, but I'm not I don't not a donor. I'm not a donor. I'm not even going to sit here and hold you, and I'm not with the cap. So I can honestly tell you that, okay, I hear what you're saying now. I get that. That's a point taken because, I am a voter, and I do be telling people, man, go out and vote, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I don't really donate. Now,
I can't speak for other people why that is, right? Like my reason is because I've had a hard time over the years. I think the first time I ever gave money to a campaign in my entire life was Obama's. I did donate, right? And that's the first time, and the first and only time I ever did it. I don't know if people could say because he was black. I don't know. Maybe that was it. I don't know. I don't know why I did it. But for some that campaign, something in me was like, no, I want to see him make it, right? And so I gave actual money. It wasn't a lot, but that was the first and only time I ever actually donated cash to a candidate. I don't know if it was because I felt a disassociation with the other ones or something about him charismatically, whatever, resonated with me and moved me to that point. I don't know why, but I will contend and say that point is well taken right there. And I believe that, yeah, you have a point. And I know a lot of my friends that vote, but hardly any that give the PACs and stuff like that. So
yeah, we're not donors. And so let's use your case, for instance. So you gave to Obama.
Yeah.
Obama benefited from that.
Right.
And probably some of your friends gave to Obama, and Obama benefited from that. However, once he's gone, then what?
Yeah.
What happened? The next thing you know is we got Trump.
Yeah.
So wherever money you gave ends up wasted because we're not consistently. To give happens consistently because it's an asset for you. Living in America has to be an asset for us. Doesn't have asset value for people, especially not for people of color. Mm. It does not have asset value. If you know anything about business, I'm a businessman first and foremost. Mm-hmm. I am a businessman. Okay, let me talk business for a moment. That's what I do best. Mm. An asset versus liability. America is a liability for us. It is not an asset. It has no asset value for us. We don't participate in the system of creating it to be an asset for us, which is why we're afraid of the police, which is why we're afraid of the laws. How can you be afraid of the police if you control the laws that employ the police and allow them the ability to either shoot or not shoot? You control those laws. We think that we don't, but your local police station works for your city council or your board of supervisors.
Right.
That's who they work for. And your dollar contributed to that city council person or that county commissioner or that board of supervisors representative controls their vote, controls whether or not they write laws that say the police can shoot or they can't shoot. And the reason why you're afraid of the police when they pull up to you is not the police themselves, but it's the police laws that allow them to do so without consequence. Well, guess who created those laws? Not the police. Mm-hmm. But the police are the second or third most powerful union in America. People don't know this. They don't think about the police as lobbyists, but they lobby for the laws that they want to benefit them.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
Right? They lobby and in order to lobby, what does that mean? They give millions of dollars to these campaigns, and you give none. So if you're giving none and the police are giving millions, who's going to win? And that's the issue. We do not donate to campaigns. So what I've done with X is created a central place where Generation X, and not just Gen X, because Generation X has to put the millennials next up to bat. Right. That's something that no other generation has done. They never passed the baton. We have to take that baton. And thus far, we haven't taken it. And when we take it, we then have to show how it's supposed to be done and pass it to the millennials. So millennials need to donate also to X. But X is a central place where you donate for Generation X mindedness, for Generation X mindset to create asset value across the board. Sure, you might be thinking about Trump and well, Trump does this and Trump does that. But the truth of the matter is Trump does very little that affects your life on a daily basis. It's your local alderman, your local council person that creates the laws that affect your life. Your governor. Those are where the laws are that affect your life. How much money have you given to them? The answer for most of us is none. Zero. Even Eazy-E donated money to political campaigns.
Mm-hmm. What would you say to somebody that heard the last statement that you just said and says, "Well, Trump has very little effect," and then we got the news that's clearly going on right now in the current state. They're going to war with the shutdown and everything, and I know that's not all his fault, and we definitely don't have time to get into whose fault that is. That is a whole show up upon itself. I just don't have the time. I don't. But you know what I'm saying? What do you say to because listen, man, I'll tell you like when you started and you said when most of us are moderates or Democrat. I don't, even though I tend to vote Democrat as a person, I know for a fact that I don't align with Democrats on a lot of different things, and I definitely don't align with Republicans on a lot of things, right?
You're an Xer. You're a moderate. Most Xers are moderates.
Right. So what do you say to somebody when you say, okay, well, the president doesn't control your life, but then they out here and their food stamps getting cut off, and they automatically associate that with him and Congress or whatever. How do you really get the information out to the people? Because I know how important local elections is. I just voted in a very serious local election here the other day for Georgia, right? So
for Georgia, yes.
Yeah, for our public service commission, which is a big thing right now. You know what I'm saying? I voted in that one. But trying to pitch that to people, who just, I don't know, I don't know why they don't take it serious. I don't know why our generation just kind of dropped the ball on it. But how do you get them back to the polls? And how do you get the money out of them? How do you? Because I feel like I didn't donate. I ain't gonna lie to you. I feel like I didn't donate to like Kamala's campaign because I didn't like the candidate per se. I didn't vote for her in the primaries. So I felt like because I didn't vote for her in the primaries, I didn't vote for her in the primaries. So I was like, that kind of was a turn off for me. And when she won, I was like, okay, now I voted for her. Well, of course, when she's going up against Trump, because I just felt like I don't rock with him like that. I don't like him. You feel me? As a person or a candidate, right? So it was kind of more. I honestly can tell you that my vote for Kamala was more of an anti-vote Trump than it was a pro-Kamala Trump, even though I did vote. But but definitely trying to give money to her campaign is like, bruh. You know what I'm saying?
That's a stretch.
That was like, yeah. I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying?
It's a stretch. It's a stretch. We're often fed. So here's the issue, and this is the truth, and most people will agree with this. Okay. We mostly feel like it's the lesser of two evils. Yeah. Whether it's local, look, Americans want to live. Americans want to go to work, pay their taxes, pay for their car note, pay their electric bill, their gas bill, their water bill, save up money to have a mortgage, take care of their children, and hopefully get a vacation once or twice a year. And life is hard. Now, I just named 10 things, and life is hard just to do that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The last thing you want to be preoccupied with is your local city council person, your local this, your local that, your supervisor for this franchise that. But you just don't want to be preoccupied with it. But here's the key. All of the 10 things that I just named are only possible because of those people. Right. They're made easy. They're made easy for you, or they're made hard for you because of those people. The vacation that you get, the vacation time that you get, the wage that you get, the ability to have insurance and all those things are made easy or hard for you because of those people, not because of the president. Mm-hmm. It takes Congress. You have a congressperson that represents your district. If you don't donate to their campaign, you don't control them. If someone else donates to their campaign, they control them. Mm-hmm. So that's how you get back. Start seeing it the same way you see your business, Mr. and Miss Entrepreneur, Miss Boss Girl, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Everybody, the same way you see your W-2, saying they take out FICA, and you go, who the hell is FICA? The same way you see all of those investments that are made, for those of you who invest in the market, the same way you see your investments, see politics as that same investment, because it's the biggest and most important investment. You can't even have the Wall Street investment unless you have the politics to set up the laws as to how you can make money once you get those capital gains. So that's what it comes back to. Focus on the money. If there's anything Generation X knows how to do, is get money. We're the get money generation. That's right. We got more money than any other generation that came before us or any generation that has come after us thus far. Yeah. We get money. So focus on the money. The money is in the power. Money begets power. Getting power, power begets money. That's how it is. It's cyclical that way. So that's how you get people back to the polls. Get money. Getting to the polls gets you money. Staying away from the polls gets you broke. All right. That's good information. All right. K100 Radio. Listen, we got a really great guest on. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I see some people are actually asking some questions over on the IG Live. Shout out to everybody that's watching it. Ignorant I am. Is that what that says? Oh, yeah. Shout out to the people watching over there on the IG Live. I want to pivot the conversation real quick.
You are tuned to K100 Radio. Hip-hop and
Maxwell Billieon
R&B.
is on the line right now. All right. And this is another one of our direct line interviews over here on K100 Radio, and we got a really great guest, man. Make sure you look him up and connect with him. Like this is, I said, my first conversation with him, but it's been really great, really enthralling so far. So let's pivot though, because you have a music background, and I want to make sure that we get into the people that watch our show a lot. They probably open it up like, what's going on? They talking
big
politics
music background
on K100 Radio. They talking politics. Yes, we are, because it's serious. But anyway, we finna get to this other stuff that we're gonna talk about. You know what I'm saying? All right. So you have an extensive music background, man. You've put on concerts. You have a music industry executive background. Before I start, tell people what you've done right there. And then I got some questions for you about the music industry, the state of it, and how it kind of all ties in to politics. But give us your background real quick.
Yes. So I started in the music industry as a dance choreographer.
Mm-hmm.
I was a hip hop kid in the late 80s, early 90s, was blessed enough to go on tour, became a big choreographer in the early part of the 90s, won some awards, some Soul Train, American Music, all that, and had Grammy nominated acts. And then that turned into becoming the head of artist development with a joint venture deal with Capitol Records. And then that led me to a woman named Natalie Hines, who became Macy Gray under my tutelage. And that turned into a joint venture deal with Sony Music, where I also headed up artist development. And so I was able to really get my hands on the reins of music business, and personally became responsible for over 100 million in record sales. Mm. And I started a management company out of that, and had platinum artists. And that grew me into businesses overseas, into music business overseas. And so I ended up representing people in South America and Central America. I had the biggest three artists in Brazil, and that just went on and on and on and on and on. And so I got out of music once I saw that Napster came in. And for those of you who are old enough, you remember Napster.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in the boardroom in a conversation where Tommy Mottola was CEO at Sony Music, and they were talking about the Napster thing. And I remember just thinking, this is over.
Yeah. Wow.
This is over. These people in this room have no clue as to what's about to happen.
Wow.
Like this download and this streaming thing, it's free. It's over. But you're not, and you guys don't have the ability or the capability to even understand it. They didn't understand it. And so I pulled out of the music industry right around the time of you remember the big Napster lawsuit, and you had Universal Music, and you had these companies suing Napster. And I just said, it's over. And then, once that blew up and we really saw the streaming thing take place. And at this time, you still had flip phones.
Right.
You didn't have anything like what we have now. Mm-hmm. Phones didn't really take pictures at that time.
Yeah.
But they played music, and it was all about the ringtone, right?
Yep.
If you could get a ringtone on, then you could make X amount, and there was no publishing. The music business just had no concept of business. They knew music, but they didn't know business. Mm-hmm. And I had an international business background in college, and I just said, you know what? I'm going out. I'm going out of America. I'm taking my talents, like LeBron James said. I'm taking my talents to Miami. I said, I'm taking my talents worldwide.
Yeah.
And I started doing that, and my music know-how, my music industry background afforded me the ability, and so I did that, and I've represented artists with major deals with Moet and Chandon, and with Pepsi, and with Rolex, and so on, the Music Hall of Fame, and you name it. I've done it musically, and I started. My mother was in office in Los Angeles, and she wanted to do something with hip hop because, in Los Angeles we have a gang culture, the Crips and the Bloods,
right?
And it was really getting out of hand, and hip hop was at the center of it with NWA, and NWA had made this record, F the Police,
right?
And that had blown up like you just wouldn't believe it. And I lived in Compton at the time, and so I thought NWA was a joke. I thought they were clowns.
Whoa, wait a minute. That's a hot take. K100 Radio. Let me timestamp that.
You are tuned to K100 Radio, hip hop and R&B.
I think you might be the first person I've spoken to on this broadcast that's from like Compton, LA, whatever, and you didn't like NWA. Wow. Now I think you might be the first one, brother.
Well, Dre had the beats. Don't get me wrong. The beats were hot. Dre's beats were hot, but NWA, none of them were gangsters. And I lived in Compton, so I knew this.
Right.
I knew none of them were drug dealers. Eazy-E was a low level, nothing drug dealer. He was no big kingpin guy. My dad was a cop. He was a captain of the police department. We knew what Eazy-E was. He was nothing. So I knew none of these guys were walking around with sawed-off shotguns in the streets. Dr. Dre had lipstick on the album right before that. None of these guys. I was the breakdancer in the city of Compton, on the streets, breaking on the corners. My mom was president of the city council. I knew everything there was to know about NWA. They were a joke to me. They weren't. It wasn't real. I knew it was a clown show. It was a circus act to sell records by Jerry Heller. So I didn't like it. I didn't support it. But they were a part of this movement. And as you said in the very beginning, hip hop was something else before that, right?
Yeah, it was.
Hip hop was the voice of, not just the voice of the street, it was the voice of what was happening in America. When you listen to Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel, and you listen to White Lines, they're talking about the cocaine epidemic and Public Enemy, right? They're talking about the condition of Black America in America. And so NWA comes out and they say these things that they are not a part of at all. And so
but
I absolutely...
Can I ask you a question? Let me interject.
Sure.
But was the things that they were talking about happening? Like, okay, listen, I listen, far be it for me to argue with somebody from Compton about this. You know what I'm saying? I've only been to LA twice in my entire life, and I definitely wasn't strolling through the hood. You know what I'm saying? So I don't, but was the things that they were talking about in the music actually happening? Maybe not to them, but was it police brutality going on? Was the gang culture really real out there, like you said? Was it a situation where I know why you said you didn't like them, because you knew the truth, like you were from the hood and they're not what they were saying, but the things that they were rapping about in their songs, were they not happening in the city?
Yes.
Okay.
No, they absolutely were happening.
Okay.
They absolutely were happening. There was a sector, as there is in any city, of that happening. But there was a whole other side of Compton. The side of Compton I lived on were Black elite people with farmland and acres of land and that they owned, and the grass was always cut and there was no trash on the streets, and people were pride. And if you went to jail, you were ashamed. I remember there was a guy on my block who went to jail, and he was walking down the street in his suit to walk to the Compton courthouse, and I was looking at him out the window, and my mom came and closed the curtains on him. Because she didn't want me to see him, because that was shameful to go to jail. And NWA comes out and they glorify it. That was not the position of Black people.
Right.
That wasn't the position of even the guys who were at the top level of the Crips and the Bloods. That wasn't the position. So they said it for self-glorification so that they could sell records. And that didn't sit right with me. It didn't sit right with my family who were a part of this. You got to think, I have a city council mom and a police father, and I'm listening to F the police. And don't get me wrong. Yes, these things were happening,
right?
But they were happening they were happening all over Los Angeles. And NWA just had this guy to come out and put money behind them, Jerry Heller, put money behind them so that they had a voice to say it, right? And so for that prompted us to do this concert. We did a concert, a Stop the Violence concert. And this is, you guys remember, self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction.
Yeah, I love that record.
And all that stuff. And the West Coast did their record, and it was all about stopping the violence and the ceasefire on gangbanging. And so we called the truce. I was a part of the truce between the Crips and the Bloods. My mother was at the helm of it. And we did this concert at Compton College. And I sat on the board. I was the head of the committee for that. I was 19 years old at this time. And I chose the guys that I thought were hot. And that was KRS-One, Ice-T, Tribe Called Quest, Big Daddy Kane. I mean, real hip hop, right? And so it's Compton. So you got to invite NWA. So the one thing that we said was, you can't curse. You can't curse. We have children in the audience. This is about stopping this violence, bringing an end to this ridiculosity that's called gangbanging.
Right.
And everybody carried their weight. Everybody got up. We had other performers there as well. But everybody got up and did what they were supposed to do. And NWA takes the stage and immediately goes into cursing and doing what NWA was known to do. So I threw him off stage.
You know what? I mean, but listen, if you already put that out there before, then they knew that, then yeah, come on, fam. Like, y'all got, especially if it's for the kids, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, they gotta go. I understand.
Yeah, no, but I personally threw him off stage. Like, I went on the stage, I cut the sound, threw him off stage, took the microphone.
How did they
react? The crowd was booing. The crowd was booing.
Right.
Well, so you got to think this is an outdoor concert. It's an all-day concert, like a summer jam sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the city of Compton, so it's blacks and Latinos deep.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Crips and you got Bloods, and there's a ceasefire. And so, what do you think is going to happen when the WA takes the stage and starts saying these things? Mm-hmm. It's going to get rowdy.
Right.
And so when I threw them off stage, the crowd booed and got upset, and they started getting exactly what we thought they would get. And so I had to take the microphone and say, I'm a 19-year-old kid standing in front of my city, Compton College on the lawn, thousands of people there, and telling my city, this is not what we do. This is not what we came here for. This is supposed to be something different. This is not what this music represents. Mm-hmm. This is not what we want to say to this world. There's cameras everywhere. And WA's backstage arguing, the police are breaking it up, and it's a whole thing. So we agreed to let them come back up mm-hmm. and come back up and not curse. And that's exactly what happened. From that moment on, they knew I was not playing. They knew I was no joke in that city. That was it. And so you can find it on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Uh-huh. But that really was my foray into the music business as a 19-year-old. And then from there, going on and becoming an artist development head and an artist development executive and seeing platinum success. I always carried that with me because I recognized that music was it was phony. Mm. It was fake. It was the circus. It was a clown show. It still is now. I mean, you look at the guys like the Young Thugs and all this stuff that goes on.
Do you feel like that? And let me interject. Do you feel like that about all music or just what's being marketed to the people? Because I personally don't. I know because of what I do, because of this platform, and because we deal with tons of music all the time, and especially on the independent level, I know for a fact all the music is not. Is not only is it all not gangster shit, and it's all not like violent or whatever. But I also know there's also a ton of really actually super talented people that just don't get heard by the masses because they don't have the machine that you know very well, and you know how all that works. So we don't have to talk about that. You know how it all gets oiled and lubed up and greased and get pushed out through the machine. I know for a fact that all hip hop is not like that. I don't. When people say that's hip hop. No, that's the hip hop you chose to consume. That's the platform. That's the platform that you chose to listen to. You could listen to K1's radio, or you could listen to that channel, right, and hear this kind of music or that kind of music, right? We're gonna play a little bit of everything because I don't like to kind of discriminate if it's a good song, whether or not I believe the person's authentically or whatever. But if it's good and it's well crafted and it's talking about something, we tend to play it. But the point is, I think now more than ever, especially with hip hop falling off the charts for the first time in 30-something years. I think that there needs to be a paradigm shift in what music we push as a community, push as machines, push as platforms. That does need to shift. But I think hip hop still has always, from the jump, had a mixture of NWAs and native tongues, and you know what I'm saying, Ice-T's and KRS-Ones. You know what I mean? And I think for every yin, there's always been a yang in hip hop, and I also feel like that about our generation, honestly.
Yeah, but we've had too much yin and not enough yang.
Yeah,
and that's the issue. The machine, we afford them the ability by consuming the information that they put out to continue putting it out, and so you don't get the yang experience. There's tons of music out there, of amazing artists that never get the opportunity because they are not a part of the machine. They're not willing to disassociate themselves from their integrity in order to be a part of the machine, and say that they don't get that break. And so they don't come to mass awareness. But you do have, what is an independent artist? There's no such thing as an independent artist. It's like an independent voter. You don't have to be signed to Sony or Universal to put a record out. So how are you independent? It means that you're not signed to a quote major. Right. What is that? What does that mean? They're the only ones that have the democratic right to put out music in America. You're not an independent artist. If you're on your own label, then that's the label that you're on. That's who you sign. That's who you're signed to, and that's how you should look at it. And so, as you said, we see hip hop falling off the charts. Well, also because it's not hip hop anymore. Snoop Dogg is the biggest rapper in the world, they say. And I've lived in 22 countries and been to over 50. And I would say Snoop Dogg is pretty up there. I don't know that he's the biggest rapper, but he's certainly up there as one of the most well-known. But certainly not because of rap.
No. He got bigger as he started branching out a little bit more and doing other
with
things.
Martha Stewart. Yeah, certainly not because of rap.
Yeah.
He's not hosting the Olympics because he's made a record called Doggy Style. That's certainly not what they're putting out.
Yeah.
But we look back, and there was a time when Michael Jackson and Garth Brooks performed on the halftime shows for the NFL. Now you got Snoop Dogg crip walking, Kendrick Lamar blood walking on the halftime of the NFL show.
Well,
come on, that's buffoonery. Let's call it what it is. Call it what it is. You cannot get me. You cannot get me to support the dances that are done by Crips that kill children, pedophiles that prey on our young. These dances represent them. The dress code of the khakis with the Chuck Taylors and the white T-shirts that they wore on the NFL show. Those people sit in parks and prey on our children to get them into gangs, as they say, from the cradle to the grave. We lose more young black males to gang violence in the city of Los Angeles than to anything else. And we're going to perform that on the NFL. The NFL is going to advertise this and market this as something we should be doing. No.
I don't listen. Let me be 100% clear. I am not from the West Coast, so I'm not a fan of gangs. I'm not a fan of the Crips, Bloods, the Pyrus, any of it. I didn't grow up in gang culture, so it's always been weirdo behavior to me. I could never, my quote unquote gang would have been my first cousins and my brothers. You know what I'm saying? That's who I rolled with. Like it was up. You touch any one of us, it's up. Like you ain't got to, I don't got to have the same color on. I don't care what we got on. It's up. You touch one of us. That's how I was.
That's right. We're family. Yes, indeed.
I'm real legit blood for real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the gang culture, bro, you'll never get no argument out of me trying to support gang culture. However, I must say this because I have to keep it 100 on this platform, and I've said this before, and I want to make sure that I love this conversation because you're right in the grand scheme of things. Of course, the Crip walking per se is representative of the Crips, and of course, Crips and Bloods and all the people that have died in the gang violence. Yes, you're right. However, when an artist like Kendrick Lamar, right, who I feel has a diverse, huge range for every song he's got. He's got not like us, but he's also got To Pimp a Butterfly, right? He's got this amazing arsenal of really good music songs that give you that's real black empowerment and real positive. And he's a stellar lyricist, and he's making really great music. He's not just saying anything on the track. I feel like him getting that opportunity on that great stage, to me personally, is good for hip hop. Yes. Crip walking and having Serena Williams up there, whose sister got shot, gang violence, Crip walking is yes, I get it. I understand what you're saying, your point, but as far as saying, okay, but guess what? We do have a hip hop artist for this genre that I love, because I'm a hip hop fan and artist and creative myself. I love the fact that we are able to be represented on that stage, right? Yes, the Crip walking, man, okay, that part right there, I'll give you that, but I'm not against the NFL or any big platform having an artist, especially a Kendrick Lamar. Now, we got some rappers that I definitely like, bro, I can't believe that's who representing us. But Kendrick is one of them ones I felt like, just based on his body of work and his catalog, I felt like him getting that look was good for hip hop, for me personally. I gotta say that. Just because of his repertoire.
So let's just go back. Mm-hmm. Let's just go back. You have Michael Jackson come out and had the longest intro in the history of that game.
Right.
He came out, remember, on the halftime show, and he stood there for, I don't remember, it was 2 minutes or something like that. And Pepsi lost their mind, and he ate up 4 or 5 commercial times and the whole thing.
Mike.
So that's our biggest moment.
Right.
So we go from that, who's the biggest entertainer, not just in the world, but in global history. Mm-hmm. Michael Jackson is the biggest entertainer in global history. To the same place, because that happened in the Los Angeles Coliseum. Mm-hmm. So from the same city, you have Snoop Dogg wearing blue bandana, Crip walking on stage.
Yeah,
where Michael Jackson was the key. This is what we've come to, and we endorse this behavior. No, black people are the only ones that will make the excuse that it is acceptable for us to show our asses instead of our faces. Mm-hmm. When you get on stage and you show Crip walking and blood walking, you are showing the lowest form of life of our culture, not the highest form of life of our culture. Mm-hmm. And you have a responsibility when you take that platform to say, I am going to show to this world what black people are. And Crip walking is not what we are. Blood walking is not what we are. Gangsters is not what we are. So how do we shed it? It's like Barack Obama's his last at the press dinner, and the guy, I can't even remember his name now, gets on stage and says, "Barry, you my nigga." Really, on the biggest stage there is.
Yes, that's right.
On the biggest stage outrageous. There is, we still niggas.
Right.
On the outrageous. Biggest stage there is, we still Crips and Bloods. On the biggest stage there is, that's the best you could come up with, Kendrick. You from that's my city. Serena, I grew up with these girls. Their father's book. My mother is the only person from the city of Compton that their father talked about in their book, because that tennis court that those girls practice on, when you see them in the B's when they were little kids, my mom built that tennis court.
Right.
And so you have the audacity to get your butt on television and crip walk on the biggest stage that there is. You're the winningest person, winningest female in the history of the whitest sport in America. And you're going to crip walk and show, this is what you show the world that we are? Absolutely, I don't support you. I don't support you now. I will never support you, Kendrick. I will never support you, Dre. I will never support you, Serena. You showed this world that we are low. Absolutely not. That's not what my city's about. I'm tired of them showing Compton. I'm from elite Black people. Mm-hmm. I'm from elite Black people that fought that fight so that we could absolutely be on those biggest stages, that made it possible for us to even get an NFL team back in a county like Los Angeles. And when we finally get one, we're going to go on stage and crip walk and show our asses to the world? Absolutely not. And then we wonder why the rest of the world sees us as monkeys. We wonder why the rest of the world throws bananas when we go out and play at the French Open. Because every time we get an opportunity, even on the biggest stage, we show what? Even at the presidential level, we are still what? Just niggas.
I listen. I
told y'all you better call in. I told you guys you better call in
because everybody is a product of their environment, right? And I'm listening to your story, and listen, your how you the way you see things. I do truly believe, just listening to the story, it's because of your background, because you had a cop for a father and a city councilman from a woman, and you grew up in a different kind of environment. But I also understand that, based on everything that I know, again, I'm not from Compton, but based on everything that I have been told, and from people that I know, other people that I know from Compton, Compton does have a hood side, and does have a problem, an environment that also created a Kendrick Lamar. You feel me? And also,
absolutely.
And also created a Kendrick, created a Nipsey. You feel what I'm saying? Even though you say NWA wasn't really like that for real, but still created an environment that they saw and grew up in, even if they weren't involved in. Here's my thing. Because I feel like I speak for the artist, from the artist side most of the time when I'm talking. From an artist perspective, I appreciate artists who paint the picture as eloquently as a Kendrick Lamar, because the picture that he's painting, no matter whether we like gangs and everything and like all that BS, we know that stuff is really going on. And when he puts it to a pen and puts it and he tells you the story, he says, "Listen, this is what I grew up. I'm a good kid from a mad city." That's how he came out, right? I'm a good kid from a mad city. I'm a good person, but I grew up in Compton. I grew up in these hard parts of Compton, and this is what I experienced. And he puts it eloquently over pad, and he literally wins a Pulitzer Prize because of the picture that he was able to paint so gracefully. I can't, as somebody who loves hip hop and loves just artistry in itself. I'm an artist myself, and I'm a producer myself. I can't bang too hard on him, even though you're right. No, that should not be the forefront of what we're representing, especially the gang culture. Because again, anybody knows me for real in real life? No, bro. I never been down with a gang. I ain't never been in a gang, and I ain't gonna never be in a gang. If my son come over to me right now talking about a gang, I'm gonna cave his chest in. You feel what I'm saying? Because look, homie, no, because I didn't raise you like that, and there ain't nothing, homie. So you know what I'm saying? So he ain't allowed to be in the gang either. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Because he wasn't raised in no gang. Period. Point blank. But the ones who were the ones who were the ones that are the ones who were. So while I do agree that the depiction of us, quote unquote, shucking and jiving, you know what I'm saying, on the big stages, not the greatest look, but I also can't say, nah, Kendrick Lamar ain't an artist that I like or support, because he's got so much other music that is great. And he's picked the songs he did were the songs he did on the stage, but at the same time, I feel like he's done way more good than harm. I don't know because he doesn't even really glorify gang culture. He's just like, hey, bro, this gang culture is real out here, and it is what it is. I don't necessarily view his music as glorifying it as much, but I do get your points though about on those big stages and the hard work that black people have done over all these years to make ourselves be accepted as stand-up citizens, which most of us are. Most black people are good people and good citizens, but the hood is the hood, and some people are what they are, just like white people got criminals and crooks too. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I can't. I don't compare black people to white people. We got 80-something other ethnic groups between those two, and any of them showing their ass to the world, any of them glorifying the worst part of what they are. Any of them stepping up to stages and showing how horrible their culture is, and the worst part about it, calling their women bitches and hoes. Any of their women proud to be hoes on the street, twerking their booty cheeks and doing all that. Whenever we talk, and I really experienced this when I lived in Atlanta, because we always want to talk about white people. We got 88 other ethnic groups before we get to that side of the spectrum. What is everybody else doing? Why are we the ones who glorify it and make excuses for it? Is it because of slavery when none of us have any attachment to slavery? So why are we the ones that still continue?
We don't have any direct attachments, but we definitely still feel the effects of slavery all these years later.
So wouldn't that be a reason to not crip walk on the NFL? Look, you're talking about the same organization that outcasted Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee.
Yeah.
Against black boy getting killed by white police officers.
Yeah.
The same organization allows Kendrick Lamar and Snoop Dogg to crip and blood walk on their stage. They're okay with that, but not okay with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee as a stand against white cops killing black boys.
Yeah,
like that doesn't compute to us. So that's black people got PTSD.
Yeah.
We have too much trauma.
It makes sense
to recognize this.
Yeah,
this is trauma at its best. This is psychotic. This is exactly the exact definition of what PTSD is. This post-traumatic stress that we walk around with makes us oblivious to the things that are going on right in front of our face. The NFL got rid of this man for taking the knee, for standing up against white cops killing black boys, and then that same organization hires Jay-Z, who talks about being a drug dealer and putting the pistol to people, and then he brings in Snoop Dogg and Kendrick Lamar's to do what? To crip walk and blood walk on that same stage. And we don't have a problem with this. We're okay with it. We still gonna go watch NFL games on Sunday. I've never watched another NFL game since what happened to Colin Kaepernick. I've lost friends over it because I refuse to believe that it just stops there, that it just ends there. This is just a form of entertainment that I shouldn't take so serious. How? We dump billions of dollars into these organizations. Imagine if there were no African Americans participating in the NFL. How long would it last? A week? Could it make it a month?
No, because they ain't the players. If all,
80,
right. So
80,
without the players,
82%.
So it can't exist without black people. Period.
Yeah.
We know that.
But we have no blacks in the front office. No blacks certainly in the back office. We have no black ownership. Yet understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not on fight the power and all that, because I don't believe in that. I believe in Generation X, and we should have diversity, and we should all have a presence at the table. But when I'm talking about what we do, I have to point the finger at us for making the choices that we make that they don't make for us. It was Kendrick Lamar's stage. He did not have to show that. It was his show. Right. He decided what he wanted in and what he didn't want in. And you cannot say, I am not this, but then you glorify it. You can't say, I am not that, but then, hey, Serena, she could only appear there if he asked her to. Yeah. Hey, Serena, come on over here and do this dance that comes from our hood. Right. So let's be honest. It is a part of him. I grew up there too. I know how to crip walk. I grew up in a crip set. I grew up in the Santana Block crip set. I know how to crip walk. But that's not something you're gonna imagine. That I run for Congress in 2028 and I win, and I'm not swearing in. I start hitting the
Come on back.
What would you say?
Yeah, that would be
What would you
ridiculous.
say?
That would be ridiculous. Like, yeah, but
Yeah, I'd be out of here.
Yeah,
Cancel that, brother.
Yeah,
Get him out of here.
Yeah, that's two separate platforms, brother. Come on. All right.
But isn't it the same thing? It's the biggest stages. Why are we the ones to show our asses on our biggest moments? And that's what we've got to start asking.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, listen, this conversation, K100 Radio.
You are tuned to K100 Radio, hip hop and R&B.
I got his information right on the screen right now. Maxwell Billieon, at Maxwell Billieon is right there. You see, if you're looking on the screen right now, you see how to spell his name. If you've been watching on IG, it's been up there the whole time. It's basically frozen on the screen right there, so you couldn't miss it. All right, you should connect with his brother, follow him. I'm definitely gonna. I'm interested. Now you got me interested. We don't have, because I know there's some things that we don't agree on, but there's a lot of things that we do agree on today from this conversation. I can tell you that right now. You know what I'm saying? So, I want to.
Yeah, and that's moderate, right? Yeah. That's moderate. 7 out of the 10 things we agree on.
Right.
The other 3 we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But we move forward on the 7 out of 10 things, and that's what Generation X is. We're moderates. Some stuff we don't, but for the most part, we're headed in the same direction.
Absolutely.
Black, white, brown, red, yellow, we're headed in the same direction.
Absolutely. Now, before we go, I want to make sure that you leave the people with anything that you want them to know, anything that you want them to connect with online, any kind of contact information you want to give out, anything, that you may be working on. Before we go, I got to let you wrap it up. Like, go ahead.
So I'm a 2-time bestseller, for those of you who don't know. The first book I wrote was called Death of the Cheating Man. Mm-hmm. And the second book that I wrote was called United States of Her America. Both of them were bestsellers at the top of the Amazon list. I went to #1 on the hot new releases list, entered the top 10 on the overall bestsellers list. Go to Amazon, get the books. You'll find out a lot more about me and my philosophies. I do have a new book that will be coming out at the top of next year that I'm super excited about. I've also had my own reality segment on WeTV. It was called Maxed Out. Okay. I did a brief snippet on the $1 Million Matchmaker, because I am, if there's a such thing as a relationship expert, which I don't believe there is, but somebody who's prolific with regard to relationships, mm-hmm. I know, but there's nobody that can tell you about relationships like I can. I'm the only boy of 4 Black females. Okay. The four corners of the world. So I'm gonna come back on here. We're gonna talk about some relationships, especially relationships in this music stuff, because the way that we portray relationships in music is the reason why we cannot have successful relationships. Mm. Our pop culture is terrible with that. At Maxwell Billieon, my name is super simple. Maxwell like the singer, and Billieon like billion, but with the E after the second I. It's Billieon. And lastly, go to therapy, Black people. Go.
Please, I mean, listen, another one. Maybe so. Now we're at 8 out of 11 that we agree on, because some of us do need some help.
We all have PTSD. Go to therapy, black people. Go to therapy. We'll talk about that on another show. Right. But I'm super excited. I'm super excited for this opportunity.
Well, brother, I love the conversation. It was really great. I'm glad we got plugged in with each other. You know what I'm saying? I'll be looking for things that you got going on, and things that you pushing forward, especially politically. I'd like to see. Your energy is great. I mean, I haven't met.
You want to see me crip walk when I win Congress?
No, I do not want you doing that in Congress. I will. Please let me. Here's the thing. I do not want my Black politicians acting as point blank, period, hard stop. But my artist. I'm an artist, all right? So people that know me, know my background, I am an artist. I'm a producer. Even though I do this media stuff, I started out as an artist, right? So I have an affinity. I'm always going to lean that way when it comes to like creative expressionism and the freedom to say whatever it is that you feel like you want to say on your art. Nobody gets to tell your story. Nobody gets to tell you what to say. Now, as a consumer, it's my choice of whether or not I want to indulge in that. As a business, it's my choice whether or not I want to sponsor that and put that on my platform. But I'm not here for the censorship at all. It's just about what you want to support. You just can't get me on that. I'm going to die on that hill. But other than that, you know what I'm saying? No, I do not want my Black politicians acting a donkey. Absolutely not. No. I need y'all to be different from us. You know what I'm saying? I need y'all to be different. I do. Straight up. I do. I do not want you acting like us. And I say us because people know me. People that know me know how I am. Don't act like me. No. I don't want you. I'm not voting for you to be like me. I'm voting for you because you took another path. You know what I'm saying? That's why.
Because I'm not like you.
Right.
You want me to be a leader.
Yes, exactly. I do not want you to be like me. I just need you to understand that what our needs as a community is and what's best for us and work in our best interest. But you should not be acting like me if you're a politician. Absolutely not. No.
So even if I do it today, not like us, you still don't.
Listen, I ain't gonna be mad at you, but I'm gonna be like, all right, well, tell me the policy, bro. Let me, you know what I'm saying? You can't fool me. You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna be mad at me if I crip walk at my inauguration. Don't lie.
No, I want you to crip walk, bro. I told, listen, man, I'm not a gang. Listen, I'm not a gang dude, bro. Like I ain't gonna hold people. Like I don't bash them hard, like, but I'm like, because I understand what it's like. Because listen, let me just be. We got to wrap it up because we're going over an hour now. But I just want because
we'll do another one.
Yeah, our conversation was so good. But like my background, people know who I am, so I can't get on in my platform and say something like that because people know my background of what I've done, where I'm from, and where I came from. So they like, don't get on here. They'll the first thing they're gonna do. Oh, you high horse now? Like, because we know you, homie. We know you. My people from my hood know where I'm from, know what I did. So I don't have the luxury of being able to say that based on the stuff that I've done in my lifetime, and it's cool. I ain't mad because what I did is what I did. Who I am now, I'm not the same person I was at 25 that I am at 45. Right? I get it. I grew. I evolved. You feel me? But I can't come on here and go hard at them because, bro, I came from the hood. I used to be a D-boy. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, listen, I can't do that. I don't have the luxury to do that, to be that judgmental. And also as an artist, I don't have the luxury to be that judgmental with the other artists. I'm like, listen, do your art, bro. But at the end of the day, I do one thing. The big revelation out of this whole interview for me is when you was like, NWA ain't like that. And so many people have been like, no, Eazy-E was a real gangster. And I'm like, you the first person I ever heard say, no, he wasn't.
What? What?
And everybody is always like,
prove it. Prove it.
You're the first person I heard. I've actually interviewed that say that.
I'm coming back. And who that person is, get him on here with me. I'll bring truth. Prove it. Eazy-E was no gangster. He was a weed man. Get out of here.
K100 Radio, Maxwell Billieon. His name is on the screen right now. Make sure you follow him, man. I'm gonna follow him too, man. I gotta stay abreast of what this brother's got going on, man.
Oh, it's coming. It's gonna be good. It's coming.
Absolutely, man. All right, K100. Hey, till the next time, brother. All right.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. K100 Radio.
K100 Radio.